Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm Aline. I'm a jewelry designer and I have a studio in Arizona. So today I'm going to talk to you about the blood, the sweat, the tears, and the exhilaration of being a handmade jewelry designer. Now, first of all, handmade means I start from scratch. I start from the metal sheet or possibly wire, and I'm using copper, I'm using steel, I'm using gold, and also silver, of course. So I start with those. I start then with gemstones. Now the gemstones I do purchase from a lapidary artist, and then from there I create. Now it might take me a few hours to figure out what the design is. It might take me a few days. It might take me a few months. I know that sounds a little crazy, but that's kind of the way we design. Now, I want to give you a little clarification about the difference between handmade and a designer. So a designer would be someone, I'm considered a designer, but I'm also handmade. So an actual designer would be somebody that would say, okay, I'm going to spend several hours creating some kind of a pendant, you know, whatever the design is that they're looking at. And then once the design is created and they're happy with it, then they turn it over to possibly manufacturing or take it overseas and have them handmade overseas. So now it becomes a mass production of something. It's still a designed piece, but it's not one of a kind. And it hasn't been gone from start to finish with the same person. So that's what I bring to the table. And how long does it take? Well, I started to tell you a little bit, but it could take, I might sit down and figure out a design that took me a couple of hours to design. Let's say like these earrings, for example. I just was playing around. I like the idea of the triangle, and it probably took me an hour or two to figure out, yeah, I kind of like that idea. Now from there, I have to actually create the piece. I have to add the texture. In this case, it's steel and copper, so I had to create the heat, everything I needed to do to make it a finished product. But the design probably was an hour or two. Now, another possibility though is I might look at a design and I envision it, and when I start to work with it, it just isn't quite right. So I'll play with it maybe for an hour or two, whatever, and then I'll set it aside and say, isn't right yet. So then I will pick it up again, maybe the next day, maybe the next week, and look at it again and say, what could I do differently? How would I design this? And then it might gel and it might become something that I can then work with and then create for several hours. In other cases, it might be something that I put aside for a year. And then after a year, I look at it and go, aha, that was what I meant to do with this. And then it comes together. So I guess my bottom line is that that's what a handmade designer is. I'm going to show you a couple of examples here, but keep in mind that handmade has been around for centuries, and artisans have been around for centuries as well and created. Now I'm going to show you a couple of things. I'm going to try to bring this camera down so you can see it a little better. Let's see if this is going to work. Whoops, it's going to fall apart, but it's going to work. Okay, let me try this. Aha! All right, sorry for those little craziness, but it'll be worth it once you see it. Okay, now for example, I showed you the earrings, which took, like I say, an hour or two to design, and then a few hours to actually make. So that takes that. This design is one of my new ones. It's called Good Vibrations. This is copper and silver, and then fine silver with natural turquoise. Now, this is something I started with probably a year ago. I knew what I kind of wanted it to look like, but I couldn't quite get it to do what I wanted to. And so I put everything aside, and then I was playing around with it about a few weeks ago. And I looked at it and I realized how I could add the gems and how it could just pop. And so this actually took about a year to create, just to give you an idea. This one right here is something that I ordered in some new gemstones. These are called solar quartz, and I will do a video on that so you can see. But this was something, when I'm looking at it, I say, okay, how do I want to do this? Do I want it to be by itself, or do I want it to hang differently? Do I want to add a gemstone? I might sit and look at this. In fact, this one, it probably took me several hours to design. And then of course there's the setting of the stone and all of the work that's involved. But it has to come from me. It has to come from the feeling. Excuse me, I'm going to show you one more. These are two pieces. I'll pull one up here so you can see, because they're earrings that I designed, oh my gosh, I'm going to say 2 or 3 years ago. This is basically all sterling silver, and it's been fused together, and the earrings are going to be similar but not exact. And I still haven't decided what to do with them. They just don't, everything I try to add to it or do to it, it just doesn't quite work. So that's one that's going to sit. And here's one that hasn't been discovered yet either by me. I was playing around with spirals. I have a whole line of spirals on my website. And I had designed several of these in copper and silver. And I still don't know what to do with it. So it sits. So my bottom line is, I wanted to show you, I'm going to go back to the top so you can see me again. Yay! I just wanted to give you an idea of what it means to be handmade. It's a very special process. It's a very creative process. And I hope that you would enjoy seeing what I've done. And also, if you'd like to go onto my website, I'd love that too. You can also like me, and that helps every time you like a video. And if you'd like to subscribe, you can do that too. I believe that's up here where you subscribe. I'll make sure it's on the link so you can see it. Have a terrific day, and thank you.